Hey, hi, hello. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. Girls, ghouls, and all you fools. My name is Jess. And I'm here to give you a wrap up. That's right, because I actually read some books in March and I'm happy about it, so you're gonna listen to me. I feel like I'm about to trip over my walking pad, but I was not going to move it. And I needed to film this video before I lay down in bed, because once I lay down in bed after I get up from work, it's a wrap. I'm not getting anything else done. So 2 of the books that I read were ones that I own, so I'm gonna grab them. You know what? March felt fast and short all at the same time. So I'm pretty sure that I finished Croissant City by Sarah Janet Maas in the beginning of March. And if you have not watched that video, I will link it, cards or description or both, whatever. Go watch that. Lots of feelings, lots of thoughts in that video. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert. It wasn't good. But I did read it. It was a lot of pages. And for a while I was like, Jessica, maybe we made the wrong choice in reading that book when we haven't been reading a lot. Because now do we want to read anything? Here's the thing. My reading is still, I'm not going to call it a slump anymore. I just have other things going on. So I just cannot dedicate all of my time to reading. Even my free time is split up between other things. So I'm just reading less, and that is fine. I am trying to come to terms with that. It is fine. I am still a reader. I'm still a book nerd. I'm still part of the book community. Even if I did not finish one book in March, I am still a part of this community. And that may sound silly to some of you, me saying that out loud, but sometimes I know other people deal with it too. It can really fuck with your brain, especially if you were reading a lot and now you're not reading nearly as much, which is the case for me. Anyway, I finished that big old book that was like 800 pages of words. So good for me. But yeah, you can watch that video so you can get all my thoughts. Love you, mean it. Next, I hadn't read in a while. Nigel! And I was doing a try chapter tag video that my patrons voted on some books, and that video is still not out. I'm so sorry, it's coming. But one of them was The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. And I realized I was gonna put on some lotion and then I didn't. Hold on. Okay, so, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, which I have a lot of thoughts on. I was thinking of doing a standalone video, but I don't have that many books to talk about in my wrap-up, so this will probably be the one I talk about the most. This is written by Rebecca Skloot, who is a White. So I've known about this book for a while. I think there was a HBO movie or miniseries produced by and or starring Oprah, if I'm correct. And I bought this book at Barnes & Noble years ago. Hadn't picked it up. After I read Medical Apartheid 2 years ago? Last year? Whenever I read that, I then thought about this book, because when I was discussing it with my friend at the time, she mentioned this book and I was like, oh yeah, I need to read that. I have it. Anyway, I read the first chapter and I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep going. So that try chapter tag really wasn't a tag, but anyway, it made me read this. I started this Saturday afternoon and I finished it Sunday. The next Sunday. Not like a whole week, like the next day. I finished it. And like, that might not sound impressive, but it's impressive, okay? For me, it's like 300, without the notes and everything, it's about 300 pages. Well, with the afterword, yeah, okay. It's like 320, let's say, pages. Not super big print, but I have, obviously, wow, a lot of tabs. Why isn't it showing? A lot of tabs and a lot of thoughts. So obviously, like I said, this is written by a white woman, but this is about a black woman, Henrietta Lacks. And so I knew a brief synopsis of what this was about, that Henrietta was, yeah, taken advantage of. She had cancer. Doctors did not ask for her permission, her consent, and they took her cancer cells, and those cells have been used to do all sorts of medical discoveries and research still to this day. That's all I knew. So this book goes not just about Henrietta's life and the things that were done to her, also talking about her family, and then also the doctors who were involved in other scandals they were involved in, or research that they had going on that wasn't ethical. So I always feel weird, like, can you spoil nonfiction? But I don't think so. And so I'm going to say what happened, but just know that there is a lot in here. And while I do have conflicting feelings on a white person writing the Black woman's story, I don't want to say I enjoyed this, because how do you say you enjoy reading such not good things about someone? But it was something that definitely was compulsively readable. I did listen to the audiobook along with it, and I usually just don't get through nonfiction that quickly. Hell, I haven't gotten through regular books this quickly. So do with that what you will. There you go. Hey. So I thought Henrietta lived till she was like 50. I think she died when she was like 31. She had, I forgot how many children, 5 children. There's one child who, one of her children was born, I think, deaf and mute. Of course, she didn't learn to sign. She was eventually put into like an institution that did not end well for her. There's so much that happened beyond just what happened to Henrietta, like the fallout of her losing her life so early on, and then what they took from her to create all of these things, which also in turn generated a lot of money. But of course, spoiler alert, her family did not see any of that. And something that was so, like, made me so sad, I wonder if it's because the daughter, Henrietta's daughter, was who the author spoke to a lot about a lot of the things, even though she was really young. Was she a baby? Really young when her mother died. She also speaks to some of the sons, but they were definitely more reluctant. And her husband was still living also when she was researching this book. So it's just really interesting because she starts out and you figure out how she even learns about Henrietta was like this random chance, because this was like in the, was it the late 80s or 90s? She was in college and heard about it. But during this time, nobody was saying her name. Her name most of the time was not brought up when discussing these cells and discussing, you know, whatever science revolves around this. And so when she heard about her, and her professor was like, there's nothing else about her, I don't know anything else. And she went on like to research, and once she got a computer, because you know it's the 90s, to research, and still wasn't finding a lot. And so she did do a lot of work. I don't want to say I want to give her credit for the reason we know who Henrietta is, but she did do a great deal of research to give credit and to let us know who Henrietta is. And I did not realize this because the cells that they took from her are called HeLa cells, and I didn't realize that it was a naming thing they used back then, where they took the HE of her first name and then the LA of her last name to call it HeLa cells. But literally they've been used for, let's see. So her cells allow scientists to perform experiments that would have been impossible with a living human. They cut HeLa cells apart and exposed them to endless toxins, radiation, infections. They bombarded them with drugs, hoping to find one that would kill malignant cells without destroying normal ones. They studied immune suppression and cancer growth by injecting HeLa cells into immune-compromised rats, which developed malignant tumors much like Henrietta's. If the cells died in the process, it didn't matter. Scientists could just go back to their eternally growing HeLa stock and start over again. Because literally her cancer cells that were removed when she went in for treatment at Johns Hopkins, they took those and kept them, and they had been experimenting and they were trying to find ways to replicate cells, and hers were the first ones that actually survived, and they're still replicating to this day. These things are fucking strong. So much so that they had issues in different like labs with like contamination, because they could just like get in the air and go contaminate something else. So they started having to use like hoods, the vented hoods above their station so that the cells wouldn't get out and contaminate other things. Like, it is wild how powerful her cells are. But these doctors, you're like, okay, Jessica, that's not bad. This has led to so much important scientific discovery, which it has. And outside of not telling her, not paying her, I'm trying to think what I was gonna say. I already lost my train of thought. But she wasn't the only person that they did this to. Like, she was dying, and she did die of her cancer. And it's really described in here, and like what her body was going through from that and the radiation. It's a lot. But it also talks about these people who are involved in this, either directly or indirectly, about her cells. Other experiments that they did on other people who did not know what was happening to them. One of the biggest things, besides this being a black woman and this taking place in the 50s, 1951, the big conversation is informed consent, and that was not a thing back then. Some of the doctors, like the dude I think who really was like replicating them and started like sending them to other labs and other doctors and stuff, I don't remember if it was him or someone else, someone involved with this, like I said, indirectly or directly, was then testing it on cancer patients, but not telling them, just saying it was something else, and like injecting it on their arm to see what would happen. And of course, they were doing tests on prisoners, because of course, those aren't humans, right? Obviously, I'm being sarcastic, but it's just disgusting. I think this is a great book to read in partnership together with, around medical apartheid, although they're both very heavy topics. But that one focuses more on the, like, obviously it's a black woman, but that one focuses primarily on black bodies and how they were treated in the United States. But this, I don't know, there's so much in here that I didn't know, even though some of it I was like, oh, I'm familiar with that thing from medical apartheid, but I learned more in this. And some of the saddest parts, besides just the ways these people were taken advantage of, really was the story of her family members, like her children, and even you get to meet other extended family. And man, that shit pissed me off. And her daughter, once Rebecca was explaining this to her, because they didn't really understand, like, what do you mean my mother is immortal or her cells are immortal? Like, once she explained that to her, and another, Henrietta's son, they were so excited, especially the daughter, to be like, oh my God, this is amazing. We had to lose our mother, but this is, you know, she's contributed to science. She's saving all of these lives. And she wasn't ever like her brothers were like, yes, we are owed money. And she was never like that. She said, which is fine, I think they were owed money too, but she was like, I just don't understand how my mother has contributed all of this to science and we can't even afford healthcare, because she's had all of these, they've had all these different health issues. And God, it was just so heartbreaking, because you know the world that we live in America, and our fake ass healthcare system, and just being the daughter of someone who literally has altered the course of science and not being able to afford health insurance. And there was just so many other things that happened to these children after they lost their mother. Heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. I was gonna say something else and I forgot. Anyway, oh, there was a part talking about what would happen if it became the norm for people to be able to basically like own and monetize their own body and body parts cells once they leave the body. Because it's basically like your body is yours when it's attached to you, but once it's removed, like if they remove your spleen or cells or whatever, then it no longer belongs to you. And they're saying, well, if we started this whole thing where every time we took something from somebody and we had to ask them for permission, nobody would want to give it to us because they would just want to get paid. And it's like, you can say, oh, that's so selfish, but then these people make fucking money. They're not just doing it for the advancement of science. They make billions of dollars. So yes, I understand some people wanting to get paid. I think it's a very interesting topic that could bring up so many different questions and issues. So if there's a book specifically like on that, about ownership and monetization, I guess you would call it, of like body parts, cells, once it leaves a person's body. I don't know if any of that made sense. I would love to know, because I would love to add that to my reading list. Anyway, all of that yabba yabba to say you should read this. Now, in the back of this book, I'm swore it said something like Rebecca said that some of the proceeds would go towards something. I can't remember what. I would have to look it up, because I'm just like, I know it took her years to write this, and she was, you know, using credit cards and Nigel really wallowing in student loan debt while researching this. But I don't know how much money she's received, and I don't know. Do you hear this fool? Nigel, lay down. He is so dramatic and I am sweating. You should read this book. Yes. Okay. Then I read Lots Away by Darcy Little Badger. This book, I remember when Mara was reviewing it, she was talking about how just like the physical book itself is a really high quality book. And it is. Beautiful. Right? Beautiful. It's just a really like high quality, well bound book. Like, you see the binding? I don't know if you can see that. It's just like a well bound book. It's nice, thick paper. Like, it just, this is a nice book. So Lots Away, which I mistakenly thought was middle grade, but is young adult. However, one of my qualms, because I think I gave this a 4-star on Goodreads. I really, really enjoyed this. Sometimes I can't put my finger on what stops something from being a 5-star, and I don't have, I have a few things, but there's nothing overwhelming that was like, oh, this can't be a 5-star. One of the things was not, I guess, the pacing, but not too much. It's just like a little bit maybe could have been cut out, where it was like, okay, are we gonna move the story along? But it honestly didn't bother me that much. The book is under 400 pages, so I mean, maybe 20, 25 pages, not a big deal. Another thing was the tone of the age. I don't know if that actually matters, because these are age categories, right? This is like this is an Indigenous mystery. And I said I thought it was middle grade, but young adult, but I still felt that way. Or I felt it was really young adult, unless Lots Away in the book, I think is like 16 or 17, and I did not get that feeling from her. There is a sexual rep with Lots Away, which is really cool, because I don't think you see that in a lot of main characters. But I felt that she was written really young. Like, when the story starts off, and maybe this is just my bias as someone who drives, and she's talking about like riding her bike to go see these things, and she's got her ghost dog, because like the dog died, but he's a ghost and he's still around. I love him. Just the way she's described, the things she does, it just felt like she was more 10, 11, 12, and less 16, 17. I don't know if that's just me, but if you felt that way, let me know. But those really were my only issues with the book. So Lots Away, only child, lives with her 2 parents, and her ghost dog. And her dog gets really riled up when something bad has happened to a family member. And that happens in the first like chapter. She's at home, her parents are at this movie, her dog starts acting up, and she's like, uh-oh, something happened to my parents. She gets on her bike, she goes check on them, and they're fine, but they find out a family member has died. So it's one of her cousins, and this is in Texas. They go down there, and essentially his wife, of course, is distraught, and Lots Away has a ability that's been passed down in her family. It's a maternal trait to basically raise the dead, but they don't bring people back because that just goes all the way left. So it's always animals. Like she brought her dog back, but we also get stories of her sixth great grandmother, which I think they just call sixth grade. Yeah, they just call sixth grade. Get stories of her and things that she did and using her abilities, and she was named after her. But you also get to hear about different animals her ancestors have brought back as pets, and lots of way practices on different animals. And so some of it was just really, is pure the word, just really wholesome? Is that heartwarming? Because one, you rarely see in a young adult book two parents, if any parents, both her parents, and they were together and really supportive of her. And then sometimes, usually in young adult or middle grade books, when there are parents and there's something happening, they usually don't believe their kids. But her parents were like, we believe you. We just have to follow, you know, we have to do things in a certain way. We can't just be going all willy-nilly, even if she wants to. So I also love that. Like she was like, I'm telling you, I have this feeling, or I saw this thing, and they believed her, and I love that. She also has a best friend, and he's a guy, but of course she's asexual, and they just call each other all the time and FaceTime and text, and he comes to help her because he has his own like ability that's passed down in his family that's kind of Fae-esque. And I just was like, I love a friendship. And definitely in a young adult book, you rarely, I feel like, rarely see a friendship between a girl and a boy. And I just love that. So there was just so much like, purity to it, but then also sadness because of what happened to her cousin, and then her going through, with the help of her family and her friend, to figure out what happened to him and basically seek justice for him. I don't know. I thought it was great. I had those two little issues with it. If I wanted to be technical, I'd be like 4.33. I'm not doing that. But I thought this was excellent. I tried to read Darcy Little Badger's other book, which is like A Snake Falls to the Ground or something. That one didn't work for me, but I'm really happy that this one did. So many people said to give this one a try. And I'm glad I did, because it just made me feel good. I read it relatively quickly. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. But lastly, oh my God, how have I been talking for 25 minutes? Lastly, so I read Pines by Blake Crouch. The series is called Wayward Pines. I think the first book is just called Pines. It'll be here. So I don't remember when I borrowed this from the library, but I was going into my Libby app to get something else, like an audiobook, and I was like, oh. And so I just opened that. I was like, maybe I'll try this, because usually Blake Crouch books that I've read have been super fast, and I was like, why not? So it was a quick read, and I did really enjoy it. I did have some problems, but so we have is he an FBI agent? Or he's like a Secret Service agent, something in the US government. And he has partners that have gone missing. Like no one's heard from them in this town is it in Idaho? In Idaho? And he goes there, but he's in a car accident, like right outside of the town. And the story starts with him waking up like in a field and not knowing who he is, not knowing where he is, but he's in pain and all of these things. And so he's trying to like piece together these stories. And at first I was like, is this gonna be the whole thing? Like sometimes, you know, like that's kind of the plot device, like amnesia. But his like memory starts coming back to him. And he starts realizing things in this town are weird. He's trying to like get his information. Like he's trying to figure out what happened to his partner, what happened to his car, what happened to his phone, and like call his wife, be able to get it out. And and no one's really helping him leave. They're all just saying like, oh, this person has your stuff, or that person. And he's just starting to notice weird things in this town. And then he like talks to someone and tries to find them again, but like then they're like, this person doesn't even work. This person doesn't exist. Who are you talking about? And the town starts coming for him. And then you get not a flashback, but you get a pan over. I don't know how to use words. We get the perspective of his wife and seeing that, you know, like what she's thinking during this time. And it ends up being, would you consider it? It's Blake Crouch. So a sci-fi thriller, very much a thriller, but with sci-fi elements. So very easy to read. Now I'm pretty sure these were written before like Dark Matter, which was the first Blake Crouch book I read. And I'm trying to think right now, like I remember enjoying it, but I remember having some critiques of it when I was reading it and I can't remember. Let me think. I can't remember. I really can't remember. I think I give it a 4. Like I would give it a 3.5 rounded up because it wasn't, I think something was like, there was a part, I don't know how long it was, but he's trying to, this is kind of a spoiler, so, you know, but he's trying to escape somewhere and it's like he's on this arduous journey that feels so long, but it's really like a day. But it was just so like every hour, minute, it felt like, okay, we did not need all of this. Like we could have really cut this in half. But it still was really interesting. And then once we get our answer of like what's going on here, what's happened, I'm like, I feel like I wish some of the time in the beginning where we were just wondering what's going on in the town and him trying to figure it out, that part was important. But I almost wish some of that was kind of cut down so that we would have gotten more towards the end, because I was like, what? All these like reveal things happening, and then it just kind of ends. Granted, there is a second book, so maybe I should just read that to figure it out. But I'm like, huh? So I don't know if that was a good review of that at all, because it's kind of hard to explain like something sci-fi thrillery. I don't want to explain or reveal like the twist or anything. But someone did say that they really enjoyed the first one, but the next 2 were downhill because I think it's a trilogy, which makes me sad. But I have questions, so I'm going to try the second one, and if it's terrible enough, then I won't continue to the third one, but I'm definitely gonna try the second one. Yes, that was it for me in March, and I'm proud. I'm proud of myself. Those were 3 really great reads, and right now I'm kind of trying to figure out what my reading mood is. I've been kind of like picking up various things and like trying a little bit of each, but so I don't know if I'm gonna finish any books this month, and I'm okay with that. I'm really trying to, I'm in my booktube burnout rehab, and I'm just trying to be okay. It's okay if I just want to watch TV. It's okay if I don't want to do anything. I love the support and the feedback I've been getting from the other content I've been sharing. So yeah, I've just gotta, I can't overwhelm myself. I can't force myself to do things. I just have to go with my feelings. You know what I'm saying? And today is a better day. I took yesterday off, so I had a longer weekend, which was so nice. And today work was back on that bullshit, but it's over. So for right now, I'm gonna go snuggle up with Nigel. Am I gonna edit this? I guess I could, but that's it. So did you read any great books in March? And if you did, do you think I would like them? Please tell me down below. But I hope you all are staying blessed, hydrated, moisturized, and sunscreened, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.